Welcome to WebORB 101, the service browser. If you've developed Internet applications, then you've called remote services from the client. Such remote services could be exposed as web services, enterprise Java beans, Windows Communication Foundation classes, Spring Beans, and many other service models. WebORB provides simple consistency in two important ways. First, WebORB's service browser exposes all remote services using a single, consistent management interface so that developers can inspect, test, secure, and generate code for all remote services in exactly the same way. Second, WebORB's service browser generates code that exposes all remote services to the client application using a single, consistent invocation pattern so that your client-side code will invoke all remote services in exactly the same way. This consistency makes it easy to manage and invoke remote services no matter what their service model. And because WebORB uses the high-speed AMF protocol to communicate between client and server, you get these productivity gains and better runtime performance too, which is a significant factor in the profitability of Internet applications. This is WebORB for .NET's Management Console, which contains its service browser. It shows services deployed as web services, WCF services, Spring.NET objects, and .NET assemblies. Likewise, if we look at WebORB for Java servers, we'll see Enterprise Java Beans, Spring Beans, web services, and so on. All of these different service models are exposed in WebORB's service browser using a consistent management interface. Let's explore the .NET assemblies. On a clean installation, only one .NET assembly is deployed, WebORB.dll, which is WebORB for .NET itself. Let's deploy a new .NET assembly into WebORB. I'll deploy the basic calc server into WebORB by simply dragging it and its debug information into the WebORB for .NET bin folder. That deploys it. We refresh the .NET services and there it is, basic calc server. That service is now available to client-side applications through WebORB, so it is successfully deployed. But does it work? As the services developer, I want to test it after deploying it, but before handing it off to the client-side team. Let's test its add method. We'll do that by selecting the Test Drive tab, which allows us to invoke the add method. We'll add some arguments, invoke the method, and unsurprisingly, 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's not exactly a complete unit test, but I was able to do it without writing any client-side code before handing it over to the client-side team, so it could be a real time saver. The service browser supports complex types too. From WebORB's sample code, let's invoke the rent-a-car method. It returns an object with many properties. These are all shown in a structured, consistent, easily inspected way. Notice that these are the client-side types, such as mileage's number type. That makes it easy for developers to verify that the type mapping from server to client is correct. WebORB lets you change this default mapping either product-wide or case-by-case. Another thing you can change is a service's security setting. Here, we can restrict the execution of code in a variety of ways. I'll save the details for a later screencast, WebORB 101 Security. One of WebORB's most powerful features, which is covered in a separate video, is its code generation. The service browser's code generation tab makes it easy to generate code for Flex, Ajax, Silverlight, or a number of other client-side technologies. Many Flex frameworks are supported, such as Cairngorm, PureMVC, Mate, Swizz, and so on. This generated code enables developers to access any service in any component technology from any client through the WebORB runtime using a single, consistent invocation pattern. To learn more about WebORB's code generation, see the video WebORB 101 Code Generation. To learn more about WebORB's simple remote service invocation pattern, see the sample Your First WebORB-Enabled .NET Service and Flex Client. Now let's show that the service browser's user interface is the same on a service from a different service model. This URL indicates the U.S. government's National Weather Service's online weather forecasting service. It's a classic SOAP-based web service. We can click through its methods and see that they are browsed in exactly the same way as the .NET assemblies. So those are two completely different service models, and yet they are managed in exactly the same way in the service browser. Furthermore, WebORB's list of service models is extensible, so that new service models can be easily added. If you need to, you can define them and add them yourself. In summary, WebORB's service browser can increase developer productivity and return on investment by making it easier to verify that services are deployed correctly and invoke server-side methods and examine their results, by making it easy to inspect complex types, also by having the same management interface for all services, whatever their service model, by generating client-side code for Flex, Ajax, Silverlight, and many other client technologies to deliver a consistent invocation pattern for all services, whatever their service model, and all this while also delivering faster runtime performance. Thank you for your interest in WebORB. Next, download a free version of WebORB and you can start saving time and money today. Happy coding!